GM, everybody, happy Wednesday. Peter Flores says, can I ask questions? Yes, you absolutely can on the live stream. Adam is actually encourages the dumber the question, the better.
Got to speak to my core audience, man. You know, so yeah.
Oh man,
hey, if you have the question, probably a lot of us have the question. I didn't even know. Like, I was talking with Jake offline about this mega ETH, you know, token sale of 10,000, you know, soulbound NFTs for 1 ETH each, and I'm like, this is crazy. And Jake convinced me it's actually not crazy. And so, you know, I like to question what's going on and stuff. So I'm wondering if anybody else here got on the whitelist for the mega ETH drop.
I don't know, man. You have to be a Kaido influencer to be able to do it. Peter says, good. I have a lot of dumb questions. Good. You will fit in perfectly here, Peter. Absolutely perfectly.
Well, how about I'm in the top. I'm at 400 right now in the Yap. I'm a Yap fluencer. So
really, how many Yaps are you up to?
Not many, dude. Like 100.
There you go. Apparently, I was seeing bull posts where each Yap airdrop's gonna be $100 per Yap.
Wow. Let's go, baby.
Just like Friend Tech was going to go to $10. So
$10, right?
But dude, excited for this conversation. How about yesterday's conversation with TO of Pizza Ninjas? You get any takeaways from that? Yeah, it's always good to talk with them.
Adam, takeaways?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just like what he's done, man. It's knowing how difficult it is to manage a community, especially a PFP community. You know, you just see most people don't do it. Actually, usually the best founders just kind of disappear. And those who stay and actually try and do stuff usually get spanked, like almost across the board.
Facts.
And I've said it a bunch of times. Like what Tio's been able to do so far is really, really impressive. I've said it to him privately as well as on the timeline, because it is so difficult to keep price up and then to keep the community like active and interested and stuff. And he's done an amazing job. So it's really impressive.
Yeah.
Dogfather, you were here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
He, he just really does such a good job of somehow he's under the radar, but he's also everywhere at the same time. Like, I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for everything that he does, but he's everywhere all the time. So, I mean, obviously he puts in a tremendous amount of work, and I don't think that he gets nearly enough credit. I don't think he's in the business of taking credit for it either. But I mean, just have to agree that what he's built is super incredible. And this is like, I mean, I was looking over the mint and everything like that. The Pizza Ninjas have only been live for a year. That's wild. It feels like so much longer. So, I mean, the stress that he's had to endure for the last year has been pretty crazy.
He's been like, somebody said on the show yesterday, it's like every conference they've had a Pizza Ninja event. It's been really, it's really incredible. And I guess that, like he said yesterday, it's his ability, from his like business experience, to run those really, tight, where he's not spending a ton of money. It's kind of like Bored Apes. They ran out of money, so they stopped having the parties and stuff. And he's doing it like a little bit shoestring, but keeps people engaged and active. And yeah, people love that shit.
What's up, Dogfather?
Yeah, GM. So I can fully agree on what you guys are saying. I mean, I all of us know a few NFT communities and PFP communities, and honestly, I didn't expect much from Pizza Ninjas, because I mean, I like the art, I like the idea and everything, but I mean, what they did with the community is kind of like outstanding. I mean, organizing all of these conferences is one thing, but then they have internal workshops on like creator workshops where they invite really the best content creators, giving like live workshops in the Discord. I mean, this is just crazy. Then they had another kind of like longer workshop series where they prepared everyone for the halving and the runes minting. They were there for weeks and minting like the best runes, and there was like just this alpha group 24/7 for a couple of weeks. This is just like two examples out of many. Now with the Pizza Pets games, I mean, I'm not so much a gamer, but I mean the mechanics behind that game and everything is pretty complex, and really pushing the frontier. And I don't know where Trevor is having all the time and energy. This is just different level. I mean, I checked a few communities. I mean, they do 10% of what these guys are doing. It's a relatively small community with 1.5K, but I mean, for that size and the funds they have, they do an outstanding job, really.
Yeah. I was on a call the other day with Fonz, who is somebody who has an insane amount of energy from the call that we had, and got a personal demo of what OrdinalHive is building and executing straight out of the BTC Lab startup. Fonz, what's good, bro?
Yo, GM guys, thank you for having me up here. I was the conversation I had with you, Jake, was amazing. Definitely had like lots of great insights there. I wanted to say something about Pizza Ninjas. Like they've like honestly like Tio has kept something really nice. Like I think he's been one of the hardest. I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there in the eco, but he's been one of like the most noticeable, hardest working founders, and just really bringing back value to the community. Like I see every top individual in the space, in the eco space, especially on Bitcoin, like rocking the PFP proudly and stuff. And I think it just speaks testament to kind of the direction vision he's taking the project. And I mean, they look pretty cool. Like I think the entire concept behind the Pizza Ninjas is pretty nice. But yeah, I think that's like a really good template to follow as like a project founder. Like you want to bring that kind of value to the community and try to achieve that in a much widespread results. So yeah, I think every time I see Dogfather, like I just see a ninja there with the sword. Even Norbert down there from Nuka, he's rocking a ninja. So like pretty good community that they have there.
Well, OrdinalHive went through BTC Startup Lab. Bitcoin Frontier Fund has a heavy influence there. I don't know if they're like a partner or part owner or whatever it is, but I know Tio is always there. I think Adam's gone and talked to BTC Startup Lab a few times. Yep. Oh, just give us, your experience of going through the Bitcoin Startup Lab, and then also maybe if you have any previous crypto experience that led you there.
Yeah. I think that was probably one of the funniest moments ever. We went during the period before the happening, so like there was a lot of like kind of high anticipation, lots of like really just kind of excitement across the board because of that. And so during that time, I think the eco was just becoming like what it was. It was during a time where like infra wasn't super there, wasn't ready at all. So like a lot of us who were part of the cohort that year or that specific at least time frame, we were very motivated to build that as of now. I think other notable startups that came out from that specific cohort that was part of was Arch Network. We also had like XBTC bots and a couple others. So like, for us, like, we kind of just went through a entire process of just like kind of grinding and just building something in the community. And, one of the cool things that, the lab teaches you is the power of like kind of network, right? I think network is very, very important across any sort of sector. So, I think, the individuals that come in there give us like their guidance, experience, and expertise is just unheard of. Like, it's just incredible. Like you get to have insight from founders and like they, give you some some advice and sort of like knowledge and how to kind of break into a specific sector or do X like X project and how to achieve it by kind of doing this and that. So for us, that was something that we were very motivated about. And I think during that time, a lot of especially myself and the team were motivated and sort of building something that kind of like improves the trading experience on Bitcoin. And I think right now, like we're seeing much more gradual improvements over time, which is good. At the time, the entire motivation was kind of provide a platform for users to kind of trade these assets in a better, much more faster manner, right? And I think starting with the NFTs for us, because from my prior experience, like I got into an NFT trading game on Ethereum, and you kind of like using that, using like different platforms there. And so like that kind of was inspiring to kind of like just be a part of. And getting into like Ordinals as well like was another way of like, oh, this is pretty cool, like you have art on chain as well. So it was like kind of a no-brainer for me to kind of go in there. It's just it was something I was already doing. And so like I think the mentorship network, all that stuff together is just something that second to none, I think.
So what would you say then is the issue with the current trading experience that you're trying to solve for? OrdinalHive is essentially it's an aggregator that picks up listings from across different types of marketplaces, but there's some sort of secret sauce that enhances the speed, or else essentially you're just like an average aggregator. So just take us through what specific problems OrdinalHive is attempting to solve.
Yeah. I think there's something to say about fragmentation in the eco right now, and especially on Bitcoin and with like many L2s, right? Like there is like like last year there was like 8+ L2s I think that I saw kind of were created. And so the idea was like, what can we do in order to like fix this issue? Like one of the biggest things is the lack of liquidity, and of course aggregation is quite important as a result of that. So for us, like that's one of the biggest things we want to tackle. And and when it comes down to it, like you always want to find like the best kind of priced assets in any sort of market, right? Whether it's L2, L1 in that specific sphere. And so like if you do aggregate across different marketplaces, you have always the best listings, you have like the most up-to-date real-time data, which is something you always want to like function. Like I think data is super important. At the same time, like we're building on Bitcoin, so like you kind of having the mempool aggregation as well is quite important. So giving the tools necessary, the visibility necessary for traders to kind of make trades in the mempool as well. And across marketplaces is very, very key, right? And so for us, like that's been the biggest kind of factor go. I think when we spoke as well, like we sort of discussed like maybe other chains, right? Like aggregating different chains, and think what you guys are doing with the bridging is fantastic. There's always talks about like a permissionless bridge that someone wants to create, kind of very secure, safe bridge, permissionless, of course. And I think we're moving closer towards that. But for us, like I think aggregating those specific ecosystems, bringing back the liquidity from the different marketplaces, providing the latest insight tools, data for the traders, the fastest in the eco is something that we're very motivated in doing. And again, like having them be able to manage their assets, right? So like those are some key stuff that we want to improve. And obviously, like it's gonna be a gradual process. It's not like something that you can do instantaneous, especially when you have to provide like the info for it. But I think it's something that we're very, very keen on doing and very motivated by sort of like that mission there.
It seems like the more conversations we have with builders, the larger the consensus is that most of these assets are going to be traded in some other type of ecosystem, whether they're through vaults or whether it's on ICP or, you know, XYZ thing stacks and so on and so forth. It's just kind of clearly obvious here. So take us through then the building experience of it. Obviously, OrdinalHive is not live yet, but what you'd shown me is definitely a trading experience. And also there's a handful of other competitors in the space. So outside of just identifying the issue, what is it that OrdinalHive can provide that is different from any other experience out there?
Yeah, 100%. I think so. So one thing to say is like I think Odin.fund proved that it's possible to like use an L2 to sort of like improve at least the trading experience for these assets, and primarily to improve like to trade like the L1 assets. I think that's what people want to do. So for us, like, you know, there's been a gradual process like where we try to do something very similar on the L2 side of stuff, and you know, kind of like working with the bridge and stuff like that. So we did that for you know, quite some time, and then we came back down to L1 and kind of improved that sort of experience. We've been in beta for like the last couple of months. And although like we're not live, there is kind of like codes we do have, and people can sort of you know, refer their friends to the platform itself. And so far it's been very, very positive, at least the entire kind of experience and sort of the user side feedback, which is very important for us, of course. But one of the things that kind of differentiates us across the board is like the fact that we are able to not only implement like, you know, just one single marketplace, but multiple, right, into one specific arena. And you know, with that, it's just like different kind of set of tools and different stuff we work with. So it's much more of a collaborative approach. We want to make sure not only do we aggregate assets, but we also aggregate like, you know, kind of like the listings, the data liquidity, which is very important. We want to make sure we aggregate that, and we're working towards that for like, you know, other specific assets like runes, BRC20s, which we'll have down the road. So like, you know, for us, you know, where's the liquidity coming from? Where is it the ads? And that's something that we're kind of like pushing towards. And so I think you'll have a much more cohesive ecosystem as a result of that. And right now it's like, again, like, you know, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but you know, the fragmentation is quite, you know, delimitating if you want to trade these assets, like who's going to buy them up, right? There's been situations where people want to list their assets, but like there's no one who's buying them, right? And so like that's something that, you know, kind of we intend to fix off the bat. And you know, we do it to different means. Of course, arbitrage opportunities is also there. When you do have like faster trading environments on an L2 compared to L1, you'll have like, you know, price discrepancies across both different sectors. So that's something we want to also enable our users, our traders, to maximize and profit from. The mempo is another big aspect that we definitely want to continue like innovating and improving on as well. The experience there. And then, you know, the biggest thing too, the biggest factor is like, how can we get retail? How can we get more users to kind of like trade on Bitcoin without having to like deal with the hassle and like difficulties of the block times, the difficulties of like waiting for your transactions to go through, your pending transactions. And so like the solution, I think, you know, I think what we've come after doing all these customer interviews and sort of like discussions is that it doesn't really matter what's under the hood. It's more of like how that experience is laid out to the end user. And so like if you want to have a solution that, you know, brings and onboards, you know, millions of users to the eco, then I think what's under the hood is it's less irrelevant and more of like, you know, how you go about it. And so for us, like that's been kind of our approach to dealing with this stuff. So the aggregation, of course, liquidity across the board is one of the biggest differentiators. That, you know, portfolio management is another thing that we're excited to like kind of roll more updates on that. And you know, we have a couple more things coming down the road on that too. So like, you know, stay tuned for that. I think it'd be quite exciting for people to manage their assets, and it's something that hasn't been done yet in the eco. And of course, like the tools necessary for like you need to complete trades and kind of trade in real time, at least as fast as we can make it be on L1. So like those there are some factors, and of course the competition is there. But like I've said this before, and I keep saying like it's good, right? Competition is only good because of two things. Like the winners, of course, are the users. And at the end, the ecosystem grows and flourishes because everyone's building some infra, right? That's quite needed. So I think for us, like we're very much ecstatic about that, and you know, very confident that we can deliver you know, kind of what we want to build.
My question there is, and we've talked to a couple different teams, and they have different approaches to, you know, bootstrapping the liquidity. How are you guys going to approach that?
I think, you know, there's a level of there's like when used properly, and I think this is the lab also teaches you, like you kind of speak with experts. There's a level to bootstrap the process. There's a level to like bring in specific like like specific things within the protocol through incentives, right? So if you incentivize specific actions, specific, things like, listings, if you incentivize liquidity, it works in the capacity, but doing so where like this is why it's very difficult, because it's very difficult to find a balance between like real liquidity and like, if you overdo it, you'll have wash trading, right? For instance, so like you want to find a proper balance between both of those. So I think for us, like we've looked at that sort of different mechanisms that have existed in the past and have done this, and I think that's one legit way to kind of do this, kind of like incentivize specific actions within the platform itself, and that sort of like helps bootstrap the process. I think at the end, traders go with where there's more liquidity. We've seen that in the past, and we see that currently playing out as well. So like it comes along with it, and the question is like, what brings liquidity? Well, I mean, there's different factors, speculation, of course. Obviously, infrastructure has to be there. I think infrastructure, when we started, wasn't like the best, but I think the ecosystem has like moved in the right direction. So like it's going like better, right, gradually, but it's going much better. So that's been there. So like it's all just really finding that specific kind of balance, bootstrapping it through some form of incentives, and at the same time, it's building a platform, building something, a tool that people actually want to use. Right. And so, I think that's another thing that lab you mentioned earlier, like what's one thing that labs use you is like just that there is like, how do you like, have those customer interviews? How do you build that feedback loop and build a protocol? And for us, like, the motivation has been from the get-go is like building the decentralized protocol that everyone can profit from and benefit from. And, that's been one of our core values, one of our core missions. And it's a driver we intend to like, hit home. So yeah, I think there's something to say more about that. And I think token economies are pretty good in long term, but I think on Bitcoin, it makes the most sense.
So, but you guys aren't going to provide initial liquidity, you don't think?
There's ways to create liquidity. Like there's ways to create liquidity pools. Like we've been talking with a couple other projects and sort of partnering with them to sort of like provide that. I think the most recent one that I've had, I won't say too much, but like I think what Sats Terminal is doing is pretty cool. So like we spoken with them regarding like kind of like doing that. But liquidity pools is an option. I think that's a pretty cool thing. And again, like it goes back to the aggregation, right? You aggregate across different marketplaces, different markets. You'll find a liquidity, right, in some sense.
How are you going about aggregating it? Is this just a simple, and Magic Eden's giving you an API to list all of the collections, or is this something that takes networking and conversation on the back end?
I think this is a process that takes a lot of like thinking outside the box and trying to achieve this. Like to be honest, Jake, I think you have experience with this too, because you guys are good builders and been building in the space. Like I think Bitcoin suffers from something that surprisingly I thought it wouldn't be the case, but it's very closed off. Like lots of projects are very closed off. You have to really kind of think outside the box and do do things to kind of get access to specific data points or specific things, which we have done. So like creating like tools and sort of stuff, infrastructure and whatnot, like from your end to like kind of process this data and like get that data, those listings, stuff like that is something that we had to do from the beginning. So it kind of sucks. We had to like kind of build that, which takes time, of course, but it's a factor of maybe like an ecosystem that's brand new, that's maturing. I think once it becomes much more mature, like you'll have faster processes and like a much more collaborative approach. But for now, like we had to really kind of like think outside the box and how we're going to get these kind of data and listings and whatnot, which is fun. It's been fun to kind of like deal with.
The fragmentation and the closed source nature of the marketplaces definitely hampered some of the progress here. I realized that pretty quickly, that Magic Eden's moat is that everyone from the NFT side of things or Ordinal side of things, that the metadata required for these collections, everyone submits it to Magic Eden and then they don't share that information. So we actually had to go to all these individual teams to ask them for their traits. And then they would say, oh, get it from Magic Eden. We'd say, well, they don't share it. I'm like, what do you mean they don't share the data? Like, yeah, that's the kind of moat that they built around themselves. And these type of nuances exist in many different areas across the Bitcoin protocols. Track has some similar issues, just as Counterparty does, just as Ordinals does. Like, for example, with Counterparty, there's some builders who are attempting to build a open source order book for all of the transactions. Whereas right now on Ordinals or for runes, it's closed source open book, order book, right? And you have to go about it in a different type of way, and it causes all this fragmentation because the prices are different, and there isn't something on. So like on OpenSea, they have something called Seaport, which is basically an open source order book for all of the NFTs across all the EVM chains that doesn't exist on Bitcoin. And so this is where OrdinalHive comes in to try to aggregate that and fix it. But on the back end, it is extremely complicated and requires a lot of networking to do.
Oh man, I think I've learned more about trying to find systems and improve on current existing systems and like kind of get data than I ever had in my life before. I think building on Ethereum. So like I of course I first started in Ethereum and I started back in 2017 during the ICO boom. And a lot of what we were doing was like arbitrage, right? We're doing arbitrage trading, across the board, and like Ethereum kind of did it right. You can access these smart contracts and like access listings and all this stuff and interact with them. On Bitcoin, of course, there's like no smart contracts. There's different projects working towards that, but as of now, there isn't anything that we can use. So there's like a lot of like really creative inventive approach you have to kind of like come up with, and at the same time it's fun, right? Like it definitely can be stressing at times, but I think anyone who's in Bitcoin, anyone who's really in crypto as a whole, like has that kind of like sense of just innovation, of just vision, right? So like you kind of are motivated by these kind of like prompts. So yeah, I agree with you on that, Jake, and I definitely find that inspiring in you as well, like kind of what you guys are doing there. So yeah, no, definitely cheers across the board.
Yeah, I completely agree. Chris, do you have any questions?
Yeah, man. I mean, I love what you guys are doing. I think the Bitcoin ecosystem's in a kind of a strange spot where, it began trading on spreadsheets and trading kind of OTC from the jump before all the infrastructure was built. And then now we have probably more infrastructure than we know what to do with, but not a lot of token launches, not a lot of new users. What do you think about that kind of dynamic? And what do you think like the next onboarding mechanism might be? What do you think about the situation?
I think honestly, like I think we're moving towards that, like token launches, token economies, decentralized token economies. I think it's something that it's an obvious, like I think when you look at specific systems, and even the ecosystem as a whole, like take different cases like Ethereum and Solana, right? Like you have people who sort of trade like shit coins, meme coins, right? And then after a while, like you have probably utility coins kind of come up and stuff, and projects launching those decentralized token economies. And so the idea is like I think the entire ecosystem is coming it's basically coming towards that there. I think we've reached a point where like we're close to reaching that. Many projects will start doing that. And one thing to know as well is like it acts like a stimulus, right? So that can provide a booster, attracting more users, attracting more people. Obviously, like when you have specific things like airdrops and stuff like that you discuss, like it attracts just farmers, and with that, like you gotta be smart. Again, you gotta find a balance and make sure like if you do incentivize things within the protocol or like whatever you're building, you incentivize for the right things, right? Don't like incentivize for like the bad things. So you gotta be smart as a founder, as a project lead to kind of like have that, at least have vision there. But I think when you do incentivize users to the eco, and there's like a stimulus, right, for instance, and that provides at least an onboarding mechanism and can boost up the process like 100x. And then out of that bunch, you'll probably have like 5% that just continue to be using that specific protocol, that specific thing. But like the job has been done, right? Like you've onboarded more people to the eco, and like it's grown as a result of that. And from there, it's just continue like innovating and building more stuff for them to remain here and build. And I think another thing I want to say too is like TradFi, I think it is becoming to it's like coming into the eco. And what you're seeing is a lot of Web2 founders coming into Web3, right? And I think you have Web2 founders launching token Solana and building out these token like communities and economies, right? So like I think we'll start seeing more of that as well. And I hope they all like get on board into Bitcoin, because I think it's like the mother chain, and there's just so much more potential for it here than anywhere else. But again, like the entire eco benefits as a whole as a result of like people coming in and just building.
Yeah, I totally agree. What you mentioned earlier that you're exploring BRC20. I guess it'd be called BRC 2.0. You know, runes. There's some other protocols out there like Tap and Counterparty, and ones that are continuing. And then even a little bit further, we're partnering OrdinalHive and Emblem, so that once these different Bitcoin NFTs, stamps included, are, you know, bridged to different chains like Base or Stacks or whatever, you guys can aggregate them so that everyone has a kind of a frictionless experience. The Ordinal space is quite crowded in terms of marketplaces. You even see some of the longer standing Ordinal marketplaces like Ordinals Wallet really have a hard time taking market share away from Magic Eden. What is OrdinalHive's strategy for adopting these other, or I guess you say emerging, Bitcoin NFT and fungible token protocols that have somewhat of an audience, but maybe not large of a market cap or total volume as we'll say runes or ordinals?
Yeah. I would say I won't say the entire strategy for the obvious reason. Like, I don't want to give too much away. I'm happy to share more with you, Jake, on the side, and of course we'll share more with the community once we get that process going. But I'll share a bit about, like, you know, kind of our goal. Like, the first thing, actually I want to share more like BRC20s. I think BRC20s, and you know, I've spoken to many people. Like, you guys were here since the very beginning too. Like, I think individuals really love the concept of having tokens on Bitcoin, at least trading tokens on Bitcoin. And I'm probably going to say something very controversial. If it wasn't for BRC20s, I don't think Ordinals would take off the way they did. So, like, you know, people just loved like trading these tokens on Bitcoin. Obviously, they weren't perfect. They came with lots of issues, lots of blow. I think there was a time where we prayed for like 50 sats per VByte. I think that was a pretty good time. Now we have like single digits, so the miners aren't too happy as a result of that. But like, there's been huge progress in regards to, like, you know, BRC 2.0, and sort of like what Benari and, like, you know, business law guys are doing in building that sort of infra for that token is pretty cool. So, you know, for us, like, you know, that's something that we obviously, like, you know, want to include in our platform. And at the same time, lots of people who trade these tokens are more on the Eastern front. So, like, that's the community we definitely want to reach out to as well. I think the Asian community is very strong. And I mean, they've been huge supporters of like the eco, and you know, been a part of since like the very beginning as well. So that's good. And of course, you obviously have runes too. I think for us, like, you know, there's two factors in terms of strategy, and, like, you know, I think you know, you gotta give props to like where props is done. Like, I remember I spoke to Nick like early days of Ordinals, and I think, you know, when I was in the call with them, I told him like the probably the best thing they've ever done was pivot and, like, you know, include Ordinals and become like the marketplace for Ordinals. Obviously, Magic Eden had a huge advantage because they already built a platform on Solana, so all they had to do really was just recreate the backend and, you know, have a very similar UI from the front, so like they can ship something very quickly. And they've done a fantastic job. Like, they've done a fantastic job across the board. Like, I think, you know, what they built and what they've done, like, really speaks volumes. And it takes a lot of effort, like, especially if you're a company like as big as Magic Eden, a lot of effort to pivot into like capacity, or even include and take a risk like that, right? And they did, and as a result of that, they've become like the biggest NFT marketplace across any sort of eco, any chain, and probably others are looking to emulate them in some capacity. So they've done a complete great job. I think other marketplaces have done great too, but like, you really have to understand like what's the pain point, what's the specific issue you're trying to solve. Like, obviously, like, you want to have specific things available to you, available to like the platform to your traders, so they can always have a trading edge, right? Do we have this? Does Magic Eden have that, right? Can a trader benefit from using ours over theirs? Can we do something where we still integrate Magic in our platform, and so they have same training experience and so forth, right? So, like, you know, that's part of the strategy. That's part of like kind of you know, making sure we onboard users to our platform too. And, you know, I think we've also like kind of in some way we kind of adopted this tribalistic, like very tribal mindset in Bitcoin, which I think we gotta do away with. Like, it's not just like them versus us. It can be us in a specific manner. We can operate and work together in so many ways. I think there's so much synergies there. So like, you know, kind of building like, you know, tools, things that actually users want to use is number one, right? Second thing too is, of course, bootstrapping the process through like, you know, incentives is the second thing. And I think that it's a huge core part of the strategy. Like, you want to make sure you're incentivized for the right things. Right, and you do this so fast and so quickly. Like, if you haven't like done enough in the first 2 months, it's gonna be very difficult to do anything else after then, right? So like the first couple of months, the first couple of weeks are very, very crucial. After that happens, like it's just very difficult to like get any sort of attraction, or becomes almost impossible to sort of like overcome that, or even surpass them. So, I think for us, like we've devised like a very strategic, very very good plan. Like we've had a couple of individuals, but very good strategists actually kind of help us with that too. And so like we'll roll that out like in due time. We'll definitely kind of make more announcements and make it much more clear to people. But like I think it starts with, of course, the platform. Make sure it's good, make sure it's usable, make sure it's like something traders want to use. Second is like kind of like target the lowest hanging fruits, making sure the platform is a bit more optimized, and you can have a better experience than what's out there, and then kind of just bootstrap the process from there. So again, eco benefits as a whole, competition is good, and I think Bitcoin at the end is going to be like the mother chain that every other L2 kind of L1 emulates in some capacity.
And how does OrdinalHive plan to support these different L2 networks for these Bitcoin assets? As we discussed at the very beginning of the show, the majority of builders are kind of gravitating towards this future that where base assets are inscribed or minted on Bitcoin and then taken to other ecosystems to optimize for XYZ reasons. And we discussed that you guys plan to support this, but just tell us what your vision is there, and then any kind of complexities from a builder standpoint to make this happen.
Yeah. So actually, partnerships like you guys, like Emblem Vote, is very, very crucial, very important. I think when you sell a platform, you saw like how we aggregate another L2 there. So we do intend to like do other ones as well. And I think we're targeting just L2s or like specific other ecosystems where we see these assets being traded in specific volumes. So there's specific things we look at. Volume is key. The frequency, of course, is also key, and other things that kind of make sense for us to do. So like it'll be a very simple, seamless kind of approach for us. And like the idea is make it so that it's not super complex, and it's just a very optimized trading experience across, right? Like you don't even know you're like kind of trading this on these other platform. And I think partnerships like Emblem Vote is very, very crucial, right? You guys provide like the foundation for this, the infra for this. So I think that's something that I was very, very excited to kind of like do with you guys as well. And you guys like have experience doing this for many, many years, right? Like I think that's something to say as well. Like it's not easy doing this stuff. So we do intend to like kind of target specific chains to have these assets. I think ICP, I think ICP like has been working on this. I know Solana has been working on this too. We've seen like different communities kind of like bridge over specific assets onto that specific ecosystem and trade there. And it's worked in the past. I think it's going to work in the future, and we'll have like some form of like kind of systems in place where you have like maybe a specific chain that trades what specific asset or something like that. So like yeah, you'll have it within the interface there, very visible. I think once like we go live officially, and individuals kind of like look at the website, they'll see how easy it is to navigate to different chains and kind of do that. But like yeah, I think having a very cohesive approach and aggregation for like aggregating liquidity across different pools, different markets, it's only beneficial for the end user. And I think it's something that definitely takes time. And I think we've reached a point where like we're ready. And again, like there's just gonna be a lot more to build. Of course, it's not like the end of it. It's like there's so much more to do. But yeah, I think those are a couple things there.
Yeah, the trading experience is tough. What is there a marketplace fee for you guys? How is the protocol generating revenue? Some of these other platforms, Emblem included, have tried 0% marketplace fees, and that, to my surprise, actually, doesn't really kind of push the boundary forward. Even places like Satflow, I see, that have a 0% marketplace fee, are still having issues with pulling market share away from Magic Eden. So where is the revenue coming from OrdinalHive?
Oh, but I pressed the wrong button there. I meant thumbs up. But no, yeah. So I mean, obviously, like when you have these kind of platforms, like the obvious thing to do is charging a platform fee. I think it's we gotta like one thing we have to like as a trade. Like I've spoken to people, right? Like people are trying to sell their assets, but there's no liquidity coming in, right? If they sell this asset on a specific marketplace, but there's someone buying it up, like buying up that specific asset, but there's another marketplace that has a liquidity and there's buyers, and that's where traders go at the end, right? And so like it's an obvious thing. And like how can we get liquidity? Like we have season 2 fast approaching after we can season, like the end of season 1 that we have, and season 2, like we address those stuff, like we're gonna address those things fairly quickly, and we have something we built as well, like to do that. And excited to like share more about that on a later date as well. But like it comes down to like the experience. It comes down to like the specific factors, like why is it that Magic has a strong code, and the reason why is because they have liquidity, right? That's the mega pool, right? That's really what it comes down to. If I go to Magic, I know I can sell my Ordinal, my Root, whatever it is, versus if I go somewhere else. And so like I think that's where you kind of have to pull in the strategy. You kind of have to like devise a plan to like incentivize the right things. And you have to know what to incentivize for. So you have to have that kind of at least understanding of the eco of the play. And yeah, like I mean the fees come later. Like that's not like I think people have to understand something. Like if you build something that solves a real issue and it's a real pain point, like a root canal, people are willing to pay whatever fee to kind of like be part of or kind of engage with the solution itself. So like that's something that we'll have down the road. Like I think right now like 0% platform fees is just fine. I don't think that's something that we don't care to incentivize the platform early on. But like the biggest thing we do want to address is make sure that the protocol that we built is not only useful but something that users actually love engaging with, right? And it's not like a unifactor approach. It's a multi-factor approach that you have to get just right. And so yeah, I think doing all those things correctly will definitely bring the results.
Have you guys considered launching a token? And then just what are your thoughts on tokenomics and how they can improve a marketplace or aggregator experience?
I think yeah, we definitely have had talks and discussions around that and stuff. So that's something that we'll be announcing very, very shortly, like how like what the sort of the make out the decision will be for that. And one thing to say is like they work. If you look at kind of if you look at Uniswap, you look like other ecosystems and other kind of protocols, how they've done their stuff. Like they've always incentivized for the right things. Like if you're like a lending platform, you want to incentivize people kind of having liquidity for loans there, and people who like loan out the products, right? Like Liquidum has done a good job in doing that. I think that sort of incentivization itself. So yeah, it does work. I think our entire motivation, Jake, was always to create a decentralized protocol that everyone can profit off from. And I think one thing to consider is like, what's the core principle? The core principle is like providing the best trading experience on Bitcoin across different kind of chains that have these specific L1 assets. So for us, like we see that as a potential play to kind of help bootstrap the process and incentivize the core like things that we need to incentivize for the protocol, and to add the things that we need to add in order to like have a significant market share come in gun blazing. So like it's crazy, but it's a one shot, one opportunity. So like if we do this correctly, then I think we'll be in a good footing, and I think we've only been prepared for a specific time period, and I think it's a good thing when you want to create sort of decentralized token economies. And I mean we can go on like for hours talking about like decentralized token economies, but I think you'll start seeing really good TradFi being built on Bitcoin and using that as like kind of what powers that specific community or ecosystem. So yeah, definitely expect something like that.
And on the platform, there is some sort of points or reward system or referral system. Can you explain what it is, how to use it, and how users can generate points?
Yeah. So it's a very it'll be a very simple system. Like there's different missions that users can do down the road. Like part of like one of the things I want to incentivize too is like specific people using different functionalities. And I think we moved away from just points to like dashboards. So like one thing for example is people using Emblem Vote to like bridge an asset over generates X amount of points. Conducting specific trades generates X amount of points, stuff like that. So they'll see it there visible and live. And it's a very interactive way to kind of measure, like, kind of track your progress, your rewards, stuff like that. So that's something that we're keen on only building up. And again, like, it's also a very simple way for us to track like how users engage with the platform and what specific tasks they've done and they continue to do. So like that's something that we will only continue to use, and like we see as one of our biggest like weapons to kind of like kind of reach specific growth and like cater to a specific segment where we want to cater to.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys are doing. Adam, I see you pondering over there. What are your thoughts on the conversation?
Well,
I wish I can be in that studio with you guys with and seeing Adam there too.
The question is when, I guess, first when, and how do you get like, actually, I think Bob did a pretty nice job this past week of his launch. What's the kind of like, you're kind of going to try and time it for a certain kind of time, or what's the kind of overarching strategy of just how you're looking at it from, getting people to try it, right? I mean, that's the main thing. You have to get people to try it. Just give us some thoughts on that.
Yeah. But we do have a plan that we have just for that itself. I think this is something we've worked on for some time. I'll give a quick snippet, like on-chain analysis. Like we conducted that across the board. So expect something like the day of our launch. And it's like geared towards that, to making sure like people interact with the platform, the protocol. So we definitely conducted on-chain analysis. So like any trading activity you've done over the last 2 years has been noted from our back end, and so it's stored. And with that, like we'll definitely have something cooking for launch. I think what Bob did with his launch is pitch perfect. It's beautiful. Like that's a French tech approach. That's like kind of like the other marketplace approach as well. So like it's just a great thing to see, and cheers to him too. Like I think when he pivoted to like from Ordinals to like runes in that capacity, like it showed the results, right? I think pivots are good. I think especially if you have that kind of like usage and sort of like excitement around protocol. So yeah, it's fast approaching. Like I don't think I want to time, like timing is bad. I think no one can time it. Like I think timing, if you time something, like you're gonna be off. So I realize the best approach is to kind of just do it and just roll with it. Like I think the confidence should come from like the fact that your protocol is good. It's good enough. It's competitive enough to like attract users and retain them. Right. And that's something that I think Web3 is beginning to see more and do more of. Like Web2 has done a fantastic job in optimizing these kind of like, applications where, users are there because it's good. It's like, fantastic. So I think for our approach, like if we focus on product, the protocol itself, and make it useful, make it something that, is profitable for the user in many ways. And like, that's something that we're for sure going to like, push. And yeah, I think it's
that was my question though. That was my question though, as far as liquidity, like on day one, right? Which is like, okay, you have a bunch of people entering or using the platform, but the liquidity isn't there. Like, don't you see that could be like, that might be an issue where you need it to kind of be liquid and moving on day one? You know what I'm saying? You don't want it to be some weird liquidity happening on day one, right? You want people to be able to buy and sell easily, right? You know what I'm saying? So like, how are you going to get that done on day one?
Oh yeah. So one of the cool things that because we're aggregator, like you can list across different marketplaces and also buy across different marketplaces. Like when you list, you'll see which, like when you do list, you can list on our marketplace, you can list on others, but you'll see like which marketplace is like attracting the most liquidity, right? The most traders. So you always have like the most up to date, like optimized like storefront, like which one, like you have a higher you have a higher chance of like of being sold. And of course, like at the end, like of course we want them to like buy and sell in ours, but like we see like others, we see other marketplaces strategically as helping us as well in that capacity. But yeah, that's something that we definitely have, and I want to make sure like users like always tap into like the most liquid one.
Awesome. We do have Anti-XBT on stage. Thank you for joining us. Do you have any questions for Fonzie or comments on the conversation?
Yeah, no questions, but definitely like comments for like just the conversation. So if you guys like don't know, I work BD at OrdinalHive, so like really close to Fonzie. Like we have strategy calls all the time, and I just like wanted to give like my take on kind of like the questions that you guys have been asking. I think Fonzie's done like a great job like kind of like outlining what we're all about and what we're doing, I think like I just really want to stress like this like one thing where in terms of like the liquidity conversation, which is really why it came up, is that like liquidity across ordinals is just kind of dead right now. And like at like OrdinalHive, like we really feel like, you know, like we're bullish on ordinals, we're bullish on the ecosystem, we're bullish on like Bitcoin based assets. And like that's why like it's really not like an issue for us, because like the way that like I'm at least like I'm looking at it, and I'm sure like I've like spoken to Fonzie about this at the same time, is that if the Bitcoin ecosystem continues to grow and we have like the best product in terms of like the most functionality, the best UI, and just like things that Magic Eden isn't doing, because Magic Eden is really focused on their multi-chain approach, right? Like they're including Barachain, Monad, Abstract, like all these different chains. I doubt that, like, I'm sure they have like a Bitcoin focused team, but like I doubt that they like are putting as many resources as we are. And like it's really hard to find Bitcoin developers compared to like EVM developers, right? Like all of the different chains of Magic Eden are like EVM adjacent. So like they all just go under like this one team and they have like subsections. Whereas like the Ordinals protocol and like Bitcoin is like super like hard to develop on. So we like, but like I think we have like the best like crack devs like also at the same time, which gives us an advantage. But it's really all about like we're bullish on ordinals, and like we think the liquidity will come. And if we can just like build like the best platform imaginable, then it's going to be like a no-brainer that like people are just going to want to choose like the most like up-to-date, easiest experience for them. And I think like the last point that I want to hit is on like the different marketplaces and like all like the competition and like the 0% fees, is like it really doesn't matter about the fees, right? Like and like Magic Eden's like shown that. And like even though we will have 0% fees, like we're not banking on that to be like the main reason why like people come over, because like there's not even that much trading volume going on anyways. Like the real reason why we want people to come over is because it's going to be faster for you to buy things, faster for you to sell things, list things. We're going to have like the deepest liquidity and like just like the best marketplace. So yeah, like I think that's kind of like all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So Antti, then I'm curious on the business development side, you know, what type of new innovations or partnerships are you guys targeting to have OrdinalHive stand out from the rest of the competition?
Yeah, definitely. So like we're partnering with a lot of ordinal projects, just like behind the scenes. Don't want to give away which ones, but like definitely like major names in the space. And I think that's different from like what a lot of other marketplaces do. Like they kind of, maybe they'll like spotlight like a new mint or whatever, but I'm trying to like really grow and like foster a lot of like, you know, like community and like grassroots foundations from like all these different ordinals communities that are super strong, have really active discords. And I think like by doing that, not only do we like get to the heart of ordinals and like the people and like direct access to the people that are going to use our site, but it's really just like it shows like our testament to like our commitment to the ordinals ecosystem, to the end user, and like the fact that like we're different from like any other marketplace like Magic Eden, Satflow, etc. Like we are actually trying to go to the user and make sure that they're able to like feel adequately rewarded, but also like feel like they're like getting the best experience also whenever they're trying to do anything on chain.
Awesome. And then just, I'm curious for both of you, it's just kind of my final question is, what's your outlook on the Bitcoin ecosystem, you know, over the next year from a, I guess you could say from a business development or growth standpoint? Obviously, we're all bullish on it. Obviously, all of us want the number to go up. And obviously, Bitcoin's probably going to continue to go up. But what are the things that you're looking for from the ecosystem that shows you strong signs that, hey, you're in the right business of building an aggregator, and that there's some sustainability in building a successful project?
Yeah, I'll take this and then I'll throw it all over to Fonzie, because I think he has like a way more like a TradFi like VC point of view, and then I'm more of like a degen, you know, like just end user sort of person. But like in my opinion, I think that any like Bitcoin asset, especially like ordinals, right? Like forget about runes, BRC20s, like counterparty, like all these different like smaller things. I think ordinals specifically has the most bullish catalyst for to like be like the next big thing in terms of like art, in terms of just like any type of like, you know, PFP or different type of thing. Like people want to be able to make more Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like the hardest asset in the world compared to any other like blockchain. And if you can store your data like immutably, something that you can't do on any other blockchain like Ethereum or Solana, where they use like IPFS or some other like decentralized storage mechanism, people really value that. And I think like it's not like the like average degen that's going to value that wants to like trade like a shitcoin on Solana, but people who are like really like you know, like nuanced art collectors, or people who understand the value proposition of like the security of Bitcoin and what that means for like the future. I think like we have to start thinking about these assets on like multi-year timeframes, even though it's only been like a little bit over 2-3 years for the Ordinals ecosystem. I think we still have to think on like multi-cycle timeframes instead of kind of like just like what's happening right now, which is why like I think like we're on like the right path where we're building for the future. We're building for like every single type of Bitcoin asset, but like I'm personally most bullish on Ordinals.
So how about you, Funds?
Yeah, I think Anti definitely said something pretty good. He covered kind of like a good trading point. I think mine is more of like a more political standpoint, right? Like I think you know, sure, like there's been talks about a Bitcoin exclusive strategic reserve, and you know, it came out to be like more of a crypto strategic reserve, regardless. But like I think you have to really take it. You have to look at it from more of a adoption standpoint, right? Like who's adopting this, who is caving in, who's becoming a much more receptive individual for like, you know, this specific asset. And you're seeing TradFi, you're seeing you know, ETFs, you're seeing like, you know, kind of VCs, hedge funds, stuff like that kind of come in and buy up Bitcoin, right? Or at least in some capacity, like hedge over you know, kind of the risk and get into Bitcoin. And I think that's a very strong signal that, you know, the industry itself has begun to adopt it as a standard and also accept it, right, as a way to like, you know, kind of drive in investment and stuff like that. So like I think from that standpoint there, like you've seen so much going on that, you know, it kind of makes sense, you know, that Bitcoin will be a very coveted, you know, kind of asset. And as a result of that, like, you know, everything else falls, right? Like once you have that, once you have them adopting that, once you have like the US potentially like even having some Bitcoin in the reserves, and you know, people will see that, they will eye that, and like they will want to come in, and you know, you'll see TradFi at least in some capacity engaging with the protocol and like building something, which is good, right? It's good overall. So like from that standpoint there, I think it's a really good metric. And obviously like from the builder's perspective, infra perspective, that's good. I think a lot of us, especially in this space and up here in the audience, like have had that conviction play for many years now, and it's playing out the way it should be. So like, you know, as the years go on, like our conviction becomes stronger and stronger. And I think others are slowly warming up to the idea. So, you know, you have builders, you have people, you have individuals who accept Bitcoin where it is. And truthfully speaking, like you just go back to the fundamentals. Like why was Bitcoin created? Well, it was created to fix like the issues with fiat currency. And so if you understand the issues with fiat currency, you see Bitcoin as an obvious play and choice. And like, you know, that should be enough conviction. That should be enough of a like, you know, kind of understanding to see that, you know, Bitcoin will eventually be a standard that's not only accepted, but it's really adopted, integrated into different processes and systems across Web 2 and of course Web 3.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate the response, and also both of you for coming on stage and sharing the OrdinalHive vision. I'm excited to partner with you guys as Emblem takes all these assets, Bitcoin native assets, across chains to find additional programmability, you know, additional functionality, and hopefully liquidity, right? As we drive home the idea of liquidity. Adam or Chris, do either of you guys have any final questions or any comments before we do wrap it up here?
Maybe just for me, I mean, the timing just seems so good, right? You have so much dilution happening on Solana. It's so difficult to find any type of kind of alpha there. Everything's a, you know, 30-second hold. There's no kind of real traction between tokens. It's just, you know, the daily runner, and then that's pretty much it. Ethereum, there's not a ton of innovation going on there. The ecosystem's a bit stale. And then you have the Bitcoin ecosystem that's completely new, totally refreshed, and building the best aspects of all of these different ecosystems, kind of like that was the vision that was always programmed. And so I think that you guys are building in the right direction. I'm excited to see where you guys are going. And, you know, I just think it's a hilarious kind of dislocation between for once we finally have more infrastructure than we probably have users at this point. So I think that at some point that has to change, and I think that you guys will probably be part of the spearheading that kind of movement. So excited to see where you guys go.
Let's go. Fonz or Antti, any final comments? We'll wrap it up here, and we'll continue on with our journey and partner together here into the year.
Yeah, no, I just want to appreciate you guys. Like, you guys have been amazing as well, and like flowers to you guys too. Like, I think you guys have done something incredible. Like, I remember, and I was talking to you about this, Jake, too. But like, you guys were an early players where people trade these assets. Aside from those Go spreadsheets, like you guys were there. So shout out to you guys, and then also shout out to Dogfather as well. Like, a big part of like data is what motivates us, and like I think Dogfather has like really like I am quite frankly impressed by the amount of like visualization, sort of like structure and just kind of like organization that he's providing across the ecosystem, which I think really benefits everyone as a whole, and lets us really see like the undervalued how undervalued these assets are. So like shout out to him, and of course everyone else in this stage.
Legend.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this really quick. Just like final thoughts. Like shout outs to Emblem Vault. Also, like by the way, I remember like trading Bitcoin punks on OpenSea using Emblem Vault way back in the day. So you guys have definitely been around for a while, OGs. And yeah, and it just like final thoughts on OrdinalHive is like we want to be like the biggest like marketplace like in the Bitcoin ecosystem, obviously. And we think like as Ordinals like gains traction, like this is like the perfect time for us to be building. We have like the best like crack devs in the ecosystem. Like I said, it's like completely different from like EVM. And yeah, like as Ordinals grows, I think like there's no question that like we're definitely going to be in contention. And there's no doubt in my mind that like that we will be like number one.
Let's go, OrdinalHive. Yeah, I'm excited for you guys to list Rare Pepe and some of these other collections that we were talking about. Really good to bring liquidity there to literally Rare Pepe, the largest Bitcoin NFT collection, more market cap than all Ordinals combined, which is kind of wild that's always underappreciated. A few notes here. I did pin to the top something that's called the Emblem Founder Vault collection. If you guys don't know, we're launching a Runes. We're actually migrating our fungible token from Ethereum to Runes. We're probably the only team to leave an $800 billion token ecosystem for a $1 billion ecosystem. Maybe we're just absolutely mad, or just incredibly
early, baby. We're early.
Yeah. Early, baby. So basically what we did in that collection, to put it short, is we put our Runes inside of an NFT on OpenSea that people can go ahead and buy, and it unlocks in at Bitcoin block 915,000. It's time locked, so you can go ahead, which I think is in September. We do have like a points program and things that we're going to be launching here over the next month or so. So a lot of cool incentives coming to the Emblem ecosystem as we come home back to Bitcoin. A lot of people don't realize that Emblem actually launched on Counterparty on Bitcoin in 2016. So it's been a long ride. We host a show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow, we are having our market discussion, so we'll dive into everything Ordinals. Also, if you're new to the show, please follow the Emblem account that's on stage so you can see everything that we're doing, as well as Agent Hustle, which is our AI project that is going to be launching here. Well, you could go talk to them, but we have a bunch of DeFi stuff, including Bitcoin, that's going to be launching here over the next few months. Take your AI agent, or essentially you could use ChatGPT in most general term to go ahead and trade runes and do everything that you want. So we'll have to maybe talk about that, Fonz, on using whatever guys' infrastructure you have so that we can aggregate everything using Agent Hustle Command Center. So a lot of cool stuff happening there. Everyone, really appreciate you. Have a good Wednesday. Stay safe out there, and we'll be back here tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, stay safe and have a good one.
Later.